Now we're going to move into our final discussion session before we move on to the closing speeches and the arrival of our winners. And we're going to talk about solutions at the service of spectators and athletes with disabilities, with Touch to See with Arthur Chazelle, who's going to join me, with Accessible, represented by Julien Vakovsky, who's also going to join me on stage. If you can give them a big round of applause. Welcome and take a microphone. Thank you for coming to be with us here today with your demos. Thank you to both of you. We're going to begin with you, Julien. You're a sports commentator in audio description. So Accessible is a non-profit association. What was the ambition when you created it a few years ago? We created Accessible 16 years ago. The aim was to make stadiums and sports venues more accessible to people with disabilities. The idea is to create a huge network of people who are committed to this issue, this very topical issue, and to make all these facilities accessible by creating solutions, sharing those solutions, and trying to bring together all the people who can have an impact on these decisions made in stadia. And I think that's the most important thing, to make these stadiums more accessible to everybody, especially as the population of people with a disability, obviously earlier we were talking about visible disabilities, but the figures are quite large. There are many people who do have a disability of some kind, a lot of people who are impacted by this. Very often when we talk about people with a physical disability in wheelchairs who have that mobility issue, but often in clubs, stadiums and facilities, they are adapted for these people. There are lifts and ramps. So it's a good beginning, but it's not enough. And today we have to look more closely at the people with a non-visible disability, impaired eyesight, which is a particular interest to me as an audio description worker. But there are all sorts of solutions that can be rolled out to welcome these people more easily. So this audio description commentary, what is different about it? Everything. It's different from everything you hear on television and radio today. It's to enable these people to understand what's going on the pitch in football or in other sports also, to understand where the ball is at any time in the match, what's going on in the stands, or an original haircut, so the people listening can enjoy what is sometimes a sensational atmosphere. We have magnificent stadiums for people, but these people with disability don't always understand exactly what's going on, and they need to be able to follow this as closely as possible. You work more specifically with clubs and stadiums directly, with sports federations, even with UEFA, with the international bodies. We are partners, in particular, of UEFA and FIFA, almost since our creation, almost 15 years now, to make all major sports events accessible to everybody. This was the case for Euro 2016, where we worked, where all the stadiums were accessible to everybody with audio description, etc. And in very practical terms, in these stadiums, how do people with impaired sight or older people have access to these services? We work very actively on improving this accessibility today, and for Euro 24 in Germany, there was an app directly on people's phones which was easily accessible in 2 clicks on the phone, earpiece in your ears, and in the stadium they can be alongside all the other spectators and can share everything at the same time through their earpieces in real time. So this, you talked about Euro 16, which then led to Euro 2024. Will this continue? We hope to be there for as many events as possible in France. We always have as a policy, the idea of continuing, always trying to go further, think about what will happen after this event. At Euro 2016, Accessible installed things in the stadiums to make the audio description possible, and that equipment was given to the stadiums. So that after the competition, each club in Marseille, in Paris, in Lyon, in Lille could then use the systems and continue to offer an audio description service. We've talked a lot about football. Is this also developing in other sports? Can we in the future imagine having this sort of commentary for any sport? Yeah, absolutely. We were specialized in football. Now we're called Accessible. We changed our identity recently, hoping to touch as many different sports, but our audio description professionals have already worked in all different sports. I myself have worked in audio description for the Olympic and Paralympic Games, which were very accessible. We had some incredible examples. So the idea really is to go to see the federations for all the different sports to help them to simplify this transition towards total accessibility. Thank you for that testimonial. Arthur Chazelle, founder and CEO of Touch2See, to enable people with impaired eyesight to enjoy an immersive experience at major sports events. And what could you explain? You have it in your hand. Okay, so hello, I'm Arthur Chazelle, founder of Touch2See. We were lucky enough to use these touch tablets for the games, in addition to audio description, for people with impaired eyesight to be able to follow the ball with the cursor on the tablet, which moves around automatically, and then there's a vibration as well to guide them. So I think that for the Olympic and Paralympic Games, it really was the perfect situation to use both audio description and the touch tablets, which show everything that's possible when the commitment is there. These touch tablets, are they easy to use for somebody with impaired eyesight? Are there people there to train them or to help them? Is it easy to use? This obviously is very complex, because in this sort of competition, we're there to provide support to the support people. We're not in direct contact with the public like we are in other events, which makes everything more complicated. So regarding how to use the tablet has been kept very simple to use, so that people can use it easily. There's no particular explanation necessary. They don't need to learn Braille to be able to use it, so it's very, very simple. And this gives them the opportunity to live the experience, to share in the match, but with real-time information as well. Yeah. For the Olympic and Paralympic Games, the automated data system that we have in football doesn't exist. So we had a particular system that was used, and really it's possible to have data provided live. And it's the same for the audio description. There's no time lag. No, we fit together perfectly, and I've had the opportunity to use this device during the games. It's totally immediate. People with a visual disability know exactly where the ball is, no matter what the sport is. In blind football, they can know everything immediately, directly. And for a young company like Touch2See, recently there are only 4 of us in the company, but taking part in the Olympic Games was a huge challenge technically for us in terms of organization, because with so many competitions being delivered at the same time, with a very complex setup and a lot of preparation, unprecedented preparation beforehand in terms of support, as we're in 3rd tier support. So there was a technical deliverability which was quite complicated, because for Olympic Games, even though we have an innovative project, it is necessary to deliver, and if we don't deliver, we can have penalties. For us, it went very well. So it really, you had no choice. It really had to work. It wasn't just a full-scale test. Yeah, it was really challenging, and with 45 units which were used in the different competitions, dynamically in the different stadiums. We did football, rugby and basketball, in Olympic and Paralympic and others too. So how did the audience know, the audience who needed this know that it existed? That is a subject, it's like with audio description. Both are quite exceptional. In sport, is rarely accessible to people with impaired sight, and so we need to communicate this. So we had things which were organized with a booking system in particular, which did work well, but which was adjusted at the beginning of the competition to boost the flexibility of the system. We talked about the games a lot with you. You took part in all the recent major events, the African Cup of Nations, and what's the objective next? To leave the tablets in the stadiums so that each league, club or federation can have their own. For as young a company as Touch to See, it was a great success for us, the Olympic Games, and for us, the legacy is there in terms of legitimacy, because taking part in a large event like this shows we're capable of delivering and that the audience really could use the devices, the systems. It's a great success, and for us the legacy is our legitimacy in the eyes of the authorities, FIFA, with access, and ultimately the aim is to use the solution in stadiums on a permanent basis in France and abroad. That the tablets should be installed in the large stadiums with people there to help to use them. Yeah, for us now, the challenge we're working on is the question of accessibility for people who with impaired sight. So we're looking into automating the solution, which will be rolled out in the stadiums without a direct intervention. It'll be people from the club who hand them out totally autonomously without our intervention. As you said, you're a very young startup. We can still say a startup? Yeah, I think we're still a startup. What does it mean taking part in this sort of event? You said it can't be a test. You do actually have to be able to deliver and to be efficient. As really there is an organization which is very specific in terms of its structure, even if we do matches and different events a couple of times a week, but never anything like the Olympic and Paralympic Games, which structurally are something else. So it requires a level of maturity which is quite different, and you need that level of maturity from the beginning of the competition, and we need it to grow very quickly. But you have also won an award here, and also we won an award with the Olympics on the innovation. So that's great for us to have won an award for innovation, and we hope that Touch to See will also be able to develop alongside audio description. If we have a crowd of 30,000 people, we can imagine there being at least 30 people who might need this sort of a device to be able to really follow the event. And people will be more likely to come to stadiums if they know that the system exists for them with audio description. And it's also a social innovation measure by attracting these people with disabilities back into stadiums. So what next for Touch to See? In the very short term this season, we hope to equip 5 to 10 clubs in France and in Europe on a permanent basis, with the idea being to give a good demonstration of what the solution can do, to distribute it more broadly through the leagues. And for accessible, likewise, the idea is that these projects should be more systematic to help startups like Touch to See to develop, to grow with all our partners, the clubs, the federations, and to make the use of audio description more systematic, along with all the ways of helping supporters to come to the stadium. You talked about figures, but very quickly, for the last European Championships, accessible in all the languages of all the nations in the championship, we reached almost 40,000 people who were able to enjoy audio description during the competition. So with a wide range of uses, so a lot that can be done there, but the solutions do exist and we need to talk about them. Thank you very much for being with us today. Congratulations to you for featuring among the winners of the awards today.